From their epic kickboxing battles to their MMA blood feud over the UFC middleweight belt, Adesanya versus Pereira is one of the best things in combat sports right now. And what better way to make it legendary than to pit two bitter rivals together again? Oh yes, it's on once more, guys. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Perez, and the UFC is running it again. I, for one, can't wait for UFC 286. It's going to be awesome. I can just feel it. Just think about it. This will be the fourth meeting of their career and the second inside the UFC octagon. So far, Perez has all the bragging rights. Why wouldn't he, though? He has won every single time so far. He has dominated the guy who is believed to be unstoppable in the cage.
At 2 minutes, 1 second of the fifth round, declaring the winner by TKO and new UFC Undisputed.
The results speak for themselves. Like, if it happened once or twice, we could have called it luck, but 3 times in a row? That just cries out one thing. The Powhatan is better than Izzy. Don't shoot the messenger, guys. It is what it is. There's just something about his style that makes him so dangerous. And look at Alex. I don't think he's cutting a lot of weight for the fight either. The guy is lean. It's just pure muscle he's got on him. And canned hams for fist, in the words of the great Joe Rogan. That's what makes him such an amazing knockout artist. His opponents have no idea what's hitting him, and before they know it, they are flat on the canvas. Pereira isn't afraid of losing rounds. He plays the long con. Even Adesanya's coach pointed this out. Eugene Barman had nothing but words of praise for the Brazilian. In their last matchup at UFC 281, Alex arguably gave up 3, maybe even 4 rounds to Izzy, and in the final round, he walked in there with blood in his eyes. He just wanted to end the fight, and that's exactly what he did. The Powhatan went to work on the last style bender's leg, hitting him with powerful low kicks at every chance he got until he saw the former champ stumble. That's when Alex pounced, hammering away at Izzy's face until the referee waved off the fight. Now, I know some of you might have thought that the fight was called off too soon. Adesanya was still on his feet, but he wasn't defending. He looked completely shaken, and I doubt he had any idea where he was. Even Barman thought the ref made the correct call. I mean, he would rather see the last style bender live to fight another day. Things weren't looking too good for him in the cage. There's only so many shots to the face he could have taken. This is Mr. Stonefist we're talking about, who would have turned off the lights completely for Izzy if the fight was allowed to go on. On the scorecards, the judges had given Adesanya all the rounds except for the second one. If he would have been able to survive just one more round, he would have successfully defended his title against Pereira. Glover Teixeira, who was cornering the fellow Brazilian for the fight, told him that the only way he could win was if he could knock out the New Zealander. You've got to give it to him, guys. The grit, the determination, and the focus it took to pull it off were just insane.
We expect the championship experience of Adesanya to start to take form and show itself.
Yeah, look at the big, deep breaths from the challenger. Oh, that was a good elbow from the bottom.
And to be honest, I've never seen Izzy in trouble like that before. Well, except for when he met Alex in kickboxing. This was back when both of these guys were competing in the Glory tournament in China in 2016. These two met for the first time, and even though the match was close, Pereira was handed the win, courtesy of the judges. That decision may have been somewhat debatable though, but a year later, Adesanya had a chance to settle the score, and similar to what we saw at UFC 281, Izzy was dominating Alex completely throughout the rounds, until the Brazilian saw an opening and landed a crippling blow to his opponent's chin. This was game over instantly. Izzy was knocked out cold. To this day, that has been the only instance where he has been laid out cold like that. Scary, right? Anyway, this marked the end of Adesanya's days inside the kickboxing ring. He joined the UFC in 2018, thinking he had left behind his old nemesis. Only if he knew how wrong he'd be about that. 2 years later, Adesanya was already the middleweight champion and had even defended his title a couple of times. He was asked about Pereira at a press conference. Izzy said that he never watched any of his former rivals' fights because he'll never be relevant. Adesanya went as far as to say he's going to become a legend and a world champion, while Pereira will be sitting in a pub somewhere telling people how he defeated him once. I guess he lost count. Anyway, the Brazilian took this personally. I mean, I would too. Only months after the interview, Alex signed the Legacy Fighting Alliance and made his debut in MMA. Ever since that interview, Adesanya was in his crosshairs. Pereira even called himself the stone in his shoe, hinting that Izzy won't ever get rid of him. Many might call that the beginning of their rivalry, but I think it began when they first met in the cage. Since that day, these two have been fated to be rivals, and I think even if Izzy didn't say Pereira wouldn't be relevant anymore, the Brazilian still would have followed him to the UFC, which he did in 2021. Just 1 year later, he was fighting his arch nemesis for the title. But you might be thinking, how does that happen? Usually, new fighters have to fight in the undercard for years before they can even get a whiff of the UFC gold. The reigning champion was just so dominant. He knocked out Andreas Michailidis in his debut for the promotion.
On his left cheek.
And John, honestly, that's what I was speaking to with all the clinch and the grab. Oh, my goodness!
How good is that? Wow! That's what I'm telling you.
Soon after, he secured a convincing decision victory over Bruno Silva.
All three have it 30-27. Your winner by unanimous decision, Alex Pereira!
And eventually, he found himself face-to-face against the title contender, Sean Strickland. And once again, Pereira proved himself to be the real deal by TKOing the Tarzan.
Speaking to with all the clinch and the grab.
His impressive showing in the UFC, paired with the historical rivalry against the then reigning champ, meant a field day for Uncle Dana. The narrative just practically fell in his lap, and you all know how good he is with this sort of thing. Dana just ran with it, and it worked out beautifully. Just look at where we're now with the middleweight decision. Adesanya was unbeatable. Everyone tried it, and everyone lost, but now the title is up for grabs. Once Pereira and Adesanya are done sorting it out, that is. Props to Izzy, by the way. I admit I would have given up if a guy had defeated me 3 times in a row, but he just wants it more than ever now. He must have made some crazy plans for the rematch with his team. I mean, he shares a lot of coaches with Alexander Volkanovski. And just look at what the Australian did last week. He made Islam Makhachev look human. So I think Izzy is going to be much better prepared this time around. And I wouldn't be surprised if he even manages to strike that blemish on his record. This is really important to him too. Losing to Alex already threw him out of the GOAT debate. Another loss could maybe mean the end for him. But at the same time, all Pereira needs is just a single opening. I guess we'll have to wait and see how things play out. Anyway, that's all I know about the Adesanya and Pereira rematch. See ya!